Welcome to the Energy Transition Technology Chat. I'm joined today by Bart Majewski, the CEO and founder of Codibly. Bart, welcome and thanks for taking the time to have a chat.
Hey, Kevin. A pleasure to be here and yeah, very much looking forward to it.
So Bart, for people who may not know you, can you do a quick introduction?
Sure, absolutely. So I'm a CEO of Codibly. Around 12 years experience in nearshoring and outsourcing software development expert. Together with the Codibly, we are in energy and utilities industry for past 8 years when we've been helping to digitalize industry, working mainly with green technologies and digital transformation within energy and utilities.
Okay, now you're based in Poland this morning. Well, obviously it's a big country, but
yes, and we are based in Kraków, Poland. Yes, so we are a local Polish company that were fortunately enough to have quite a lot of global exposure, working with clients from US, Germany, UK, entering a little bit of Nordics right now. So yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and we came across each other at Distributech a couple of weeks back in the US. Now, the type of services and solutions, what are you guys up to at Codibly?
Yeah, so we consider ourselves a technology consultants and software development company. We operate in various of industries. However, energy and utilities is like 75% of our business. We work mainly with the product and service-based companies, as well as management consultants that operates within this industry, again, energy and utilities. So we help them to work with their clients or help them to work with their products and tools that they use to change basically this industry. So we've been involved in variety of projects and building a really exciting sustainability technologies like demand management, smart grids, energy efficiency, cost benchmarking solutions for hydropower, and many more exciting technologies within this field.
Now, when we were chatting in previous times, one of the things that I found fascinating was that, you know, we talk about demand response and we talk about energy, you know, all these cool things. But can you give a couple of examples of the concrete things? You know, you guys have developed software that does this. How do you make it real?
Sure. So, again, being around 8 years right now with energy and utilities enabled us to be, you know, part of the really exciting projects. And again, just want to stress out that we are a technology consultant. So we help companies build their products and their solutions. And a couple of really exciting companies we've been working with, both in US, UK, and Germany, and a couple of examples that I can give you. We've been working with one of the industry leader within demand response in the UK, developing a technology that helps people to participate within the local demand response programs. So enabling them to commercialize their energy capabilities within you know home assets or commercial assets like power generators, help them to basically generate the power back to the grid, sell it when there was like you know a peak demands for within the national grid, to help them to help the grid smooth the peak shaving, you know, events. We've built, you know, the like 3 aspects of the technology, which is smart metering, operation management platform with the whole connectivity layers, and as well as client portals to help them understand, you know, everything connected with how much money they earn, how much money they may earn in the future, as well as correlations with the weather, with the predictions that may happen within nearest time. There are a couple of other projects we've done as well. Quite a good one was a project that we did for one of our German clients, which is a management operational platform to manage wind turbines and wind turbine farms. So to collect all of the different meterings from them, manage the portfolio of assets of wind turbines, and just to enable them, manage those devices much more efficiently and effective, because they were like producers of those wind turbines.
And may I ask, when you look at the demand response solution managing wind turbines, I know you also have done some electric vehicle management platforms.
Correct. Yeah.
You guys, to make it real, you guys develop the software that goes at the back end or in the cloud or connects to legacy systems. There might be software that gets deployed out onto the grid, out to the edge, as they call it. So you, and an app that turns up on the person's phone. So you kind of look at the software development on all of these platforms, right?
Correct. So basically, we try to look for the complete solutions for our clients, and as you mentioned, like the layers we operate are connected with a lot of integrations. Actually, one of the projects we've done as well was a gateway API, so connectivity solutions. A lot of utilities we've been working and integrating with has got a lot of legacy systems that were really quite a challenge to integrate and work with. So everything connected with the connectivity layers, web and cloud interfaces, as well as client portals and data analytics, falls into the category where we actually help companies to deliver.
Okay. Now, believe it or not, when I started out in this industry back in 1990, so that's dating me a bit, I'm a computer electronic engineer with software. And at the time, I was working in Dublin with a software company, and we were bleeding edge. We were taking IBM mainframe, 32 dumb terminal stuff, and porting it onto OS2 client server, right? It was bleeding edge. And we were writing in C, and we had to learn COBOL and Guardian Himalaya and all this kind of stuff. And it was always fascinating. I look at your website, and you guys have something like 40 different technologies, languages,
sure,
stuff that you have to deal with. You mentioned all the things that you do. Given the amount of languages, technologies, methodologies, yada yada, in relation to software development today, how do you keep up?
So basically, there are a couple of core technologies that we work. I think they're like, you can consider them as industry standards. And then, right now, every single week, there is a new technology that is emerging, and it's really easy to fall into a temptation of adapting everything that is new, lean, agile, and also like really innovative to a client. But being technology consultants, the main thing that we want to deliver is actually the right value for the client. So as far as we want to keep the innovative approach, we have to kind of stick to the core technologies, and when there is possibility, and where it makes sense, we are more than happy to implement new technologies and drive innovation with the new standard, new basically platform solutions that we have, and how we keep them, how we keep up with them. We work together within the company, creating internal workshops, knowledge sharing sessions, as well as we have internal knowledge kind of management structure where people are kind of, exploring new features and functionalities, and how can they be adapted to business environment. And I think, a mixture of the new approach being, business oriented and keeping up with the core kind of technologies and platforms that industry is using, is a really right mixture to get everything, in a pretty good shape, and again bring the required value to our clients.
No, a lot of the work I do with utilities, oil and gas companies, one of the challenges that your average IT director or average worker is trying to keep up with all the new technologies, right? Because, as you say,
right,
software, there's a new one every week.
Sure.
Add in every other mechanical, chemical, digital, whatever, there's a new thing every 5 minutes. So they're kind of going, God, how do I keep up? So I know you guys host meetups and whatever. You're very active in the software community as well in terms of figuring out what's going on. And as you say, what brings value as opposed to the newest shiny toy.
Sure.
Now, one follow-on, a new word for me in the past couple of months has been, I've come across the whole concept of low code and no code methodologies and developing
Sure.
software. Can you give me your, what is this and where is it all heading?
Sure. So basically, as much as digital transformation is changing, all of the industries we can think of, it has also got a pretty significant impact on how the software is being developed, and low code or no code. Well, the difference there is like really tight, but the general concept is to be able to build a software with as small amount of coding as possible, predominantly none, to be able to deliver a really exciting mobile app or client kind of web application, which is fine currently if you want to build some kind of prototype. At least that's my vision, and I can easily foresee in the future that those tools and those mechanisms will develop really in an advanced way. But right now, there are so many concerns about scalability of such a approach, security issues that might occur, and basically being able to maintain the solutions to be agile and flexible enough. And that right now the concept is, again, I think really great in terms of building a prototype, but is it for the enterprise mass consumer market ready yet? I don't think so at the current stage, but it's really interesting concept, and I see the trend that it's just developing really quickly. So I'm very much looking forward to see how can this be much more cost effective in terms of building a platform in the future, or at least some parts of it that might be actually not require like really diligent scalability, software engineering kind of approach.
No, and as I came across this and started looking into it, I was fascinated given some of the software stuff I did years ago. So the ability for somebody in a line of business to kind of sit down with a GUI tool and say, oh, I can craft a electric vehicle. So the guy will pull in and I'll do this and I'll do that. And, with a GUI tool, just kind of put building blocks together, hit return, and it magically creates the backend, middleware, and the client app, and it all gets distributed. It is a fascinating approach. And I suppose if you were starting from scratch and you were using all the latest and greatest cloud and whatever, it might be easier, let's say. But in the energy industry, when you start going, we have all these legacy systems I need to interact with as well. I'm guessing it's a lot more, as you say, it's a lot more complex than meets the eye.
It is indeed. However, as I mentioned, everything is changing really rapidly. So again, it's just, the more the industry is getting standardized, and it's a slow process, but it's ongoing process. So, but as much, as many standards as we are kind of aiming to get within the industry, the more kind of possible it might become in the future. So again, that's really interesting concepts that might happen in upcoming, I would say, even years.
Yeah. Now, another thing we discussed in a previous call and a couple of chats was, so you guys use a lot around the agile methodology and Scrum, et cetera, et cetera. One of the things I find fascinating in the past couple of years, and I see it accelerating, was that traditionally in the, let's say especially the utility industry, things were pretty much, if it works, don't fix it. And
Sure.
now we get into the new methodology with the startups and the new way of doing things is like, well, we'll try something, and if it doesn't work, we'll change the code and we'll send it out again tomorrow night, and we can iterate every day and whatever. And there's also almost like a cultural thing about, fast fail and we'll try it again. And the other guy's going, oh my God, don't touch my core network, if you can't
Sure.
fail. So how does all this agile methodology and let's try something and iterate if it doesn't work versus the, oh my God, if you can't prove that it hasn't failed in 10 years, I'm not touching it. How does that play out in the world today?
Sure. So I think, I don't think, even in the real agile world, things are being deployed over the night from the day to day, especially, in energy and utilities. But to be honest, that every time we engage with the clients, that is a challenge because there is there are certain kind of companies that still needs to know everything from the very beginning to the very end in terms of costs, features, functionalities, before they decide to move forward with the project or with the vendor.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if there is a vendor that will kind of say, hey, we can foresee everything within that 12 or 15 months project, and here is the cost X of it, well, guess what? I think it's a much higher risk engaging with this vendor rather than developing, the application itself, because you must be mad to basically say that you are able to predict everything, or at least half of it. Like, you have to have whether huge contingency of an unknown, or just simply, you've done something and you're just copying and pasting because this is so similar, right? And I think, the biggest challenge that companies have is they don't see or they cannot kind of see the value within iterative approach. Because they are worried that the budget will burn and the things won't be efficient enough, and it's actually a really legitimate concern with all of our clients that we work with, especially because no matter if we are working with management consultants or product company or service company, there is a certain budget, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the answer for this, in terms of having a lean and agile approach where we are developing things iteratively, is to manage a capped budget that we can then agree upon having some kind of workshop sessions or so-called sprint zero, where we can kind of get together and get all of the required stakeholders and actually have them all aligned, because this is another challenge that we've been experiencing, especially working with enterprises, that like the main stakeholders quite often are not fully aligned with what they are trying to deliver, even in terms of critical architecture or critical applications to manage their assets, to manage their basically their internal solutions. So And so some of stakeholders are expecting everything to be done kind of maybe even not waterfall, but fixed price. And well, it's kind of similar, right? But then our role as a management consultancy, technology consultancy, is to help them understand and to provide them with some insights as early as possible, and to have iterative approach, and to show that we can, fix the budget and manage their expectations toward achieving, something there is, as we've discussed earlier, minimum viable product, or some may say minimum sellable product. So something that they can use as early as possible, maybe not, in 100% features and functionalities, but just to start with some small bits that are usable, and then start adding bit by bit by bit. And it just makes sense. And the more companies we engage with, in this similar manner, distance doesn't matter. We are based in Kraków, in Poland, and we work with companies from San Francisco, for example, or in Germany or UK, where, the time difference is significant, there in the US. Yet still we are able to bring and add value, because the iterative approach and the way, we are trying to manage their expectations is just simply works. And that's why, but it's also required a specific mindset, as we've discussed earlier, of the people, especially the main stakeholders. So I would say, building a trust with the key stakeholders and making sure they know we understand budgeting and business aspect of what they are trying to deliver, together with their technology team, is a key to success, right? Because then they are not worried that we're going to spend a fortune and that we're going to build something that their marketing and business teams won't be able to sell to their clients, right? And I think, that's the magic kind of mixture to get everything sorted out.
No, I agreed. And, what I find fascinating within the energy industry right now is, the traditional approach was, well, okay, we want to build a electric vehicle charging platform, right? Let's say, right? So sure. When I drive off with my electric car, I turn up somewhere, I use my smart card or RFID, I don't know, whatever, and I get billed, and I can do vehicle to grid and yada, yada, yada. So somebody says, let's build a software platform to do that. And it's like, great. So what kind of functionality do you want based on the business model? And then typically it's like, well, we're not sure of the business model yet because we're not sure of the regulations, and we're not sure. So it's sure. It's a kind of a thing that the traditional model, spec out everything you want and then we'll build it, is like, well, we're not sure what we want because we're not sure what the business model will look like because of the whole energy transition.
Correct, but also I think you can agree with me that there is a huge trend of utilities company are exploding to be energy companies, which is really, which Shell, BP are kind of stepping into a energy distribution demand response markets, which is really worrying. And basically, what you mentioned is pretty interesting because if companies, especially energy ones, will keep working towards the old model, which is waiting the spec to be built and then a year or two in ahead, get some product, they will be outplayed by those who even don't have much more money, but they are much more smarter in terms of building something smaller and adapting faster to environment. And this is something that we can help as a Codibly to build actually things faster and more accurate towards the market needs.
Mm. Yeah, and the role of software. I was at a conference probably a couple of years back, and a CEO of a large utility in the US basically stood up and said, we used to be a hardware company, now we're mostly a software company.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. 100% agree. And especially, again, within the energy and utilities, companies quite often start to compete on cutting the costs, right? Because there is such a big pressure.
Yep.
And nothing cuts the costs better than basically software that basically automates a lot of manual work and basically see look for inefficiencies in I don't know, grid distribution or optimizing blackouts or predicting how to address inefficiency within certain kind of processes and
predictive maintenance or whatever, right?
Correct, absolutely.
Now, the last thing here on my list was one of the challenges that keeps a lot of energy execs up most nights, or well, not most nights, but some nights. The workforce is changing. A lot of folks are looking to retire. There's all the new generation of workers coming in. How does this play out in the software? Where are all these software developers coming from? What do they expect from their employer of the future? I find that fascinating.
Sure. So we are fortunate enough to be in Kraków. And Kraków is an absolutely amazing student city with a lot of technology universities. And also we have universities with specializations of energy and utilities.
Okay.
Combined with the software. That's why, we're really in a good place to be. However, when you've recognized, the challenge really well, because, things are changing dynamically, and we've got experts that are under 30 years old. They got like 5 or 6 years of experience, and because the emerging technologies are so brand new, there's a person that starts, their careers in front-end development or back-end development, and from the very early stages of this new emerging technology. And guess what? Within the 3 years, he's one of the, experts that is really, really needed on the market, right? So the market obviously is fighting for such a person, because there is a much bigger demand than on the market for such an expert. So there are a couple of things, that we can do, and I'm not mentioning about bean bags, ping pong tables. Well, they're all present in our office, which is,
the new environment.
It is the environment, right? But having also a professionally ready environment and mature projects and just, having people that are willing to be challenged by also really fascinating problems to solve, which is green energy, sustainability. I think those are like topics that are like really attract people that want to change something, rather than just go to 9 to 5 kind of work. And this is something that also we are fortunate to be in such a business, right? But also just enabling people to grow, and because exciting project, this is the one thing, and second thing, we try to build a company culture around self responsibility, right? So people can take day off, but they have to kind of make sure that the team that they are in, is basically fully aligned, and still able to deliver desired sprint. You can take a day remote, and work from home because you're expecting, I don't know, a big delivery or something like that. But you have to align with what you are trying to, what are you delivering to your client, together with the whole team. And this whole mindset and shift toward the way people are collaborating and working together is something that, it was hard to kind of understand at the very beginning. But the more we kind of go towards this direction, the more it just makes sense, because we are keeping those people, motivated and engaged, yet still responsible for what they are trying to accomplish. And there is no better way to grow a company than have people reference other people to come in, which is happening. And as soon as you get to this place, you're in a pretty good shape. So very much looking forward to continuing this trend for that.
No, and a lot of the good piece of the work that I do with energy companies in the last 6 months or whatever is bridging the gap between look at all this cool stuff and we can do all this in the new way of working, and and the folks going, we need to keep the lights on, so don't touch anything.
Sure.
and now it's like, because of electric vehicles and the energy transition is happening. It's like not doing anything is just not an option anymore. So they have to start.
Sure.
And I kind of sit in the middle because I see good from both sides, and I see stuff that's may not fit from both sides. So it's a question of being logical about how it merges together. One side isn't wrong, one side isn't right. And I
Sure.
see that evolving much faster because people are being forced to change. It is fascinating.
Correct. I fully agree. Fully agree.
Bart, if people want to find out more about you guys, where should we send them?
Well, we are present on LinkedIn, so you can find me out on LinkedIn by just typing Bartosz Majewski or Bart Majewski, and obviously Codibly. There is also them. You can check in www.codibly.com. You can find us over there as well. So yeah.
Cool. Bart, come here. Thanks very much for taking the time to have a chat this morning.
A huge pleasure, and thanks for having me. Absolutely.